her face. Now I'm a believer, not a trace. Put doubt in my mind, I'm in love. I'm a believer, I couldn't leave her if I tried. Saw her face. Now I'm a believer, not a trace. Put doubt in my mind, love. I'm a believer, I couldn't leave her if I tried. If I saw her face. Now I'm a believer, not a trace. Put doubt in my mind. But I'm a believer, yeah, 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 yeah,
Seven.
What number is this, chap?
7A.
Okay, don't get excited about it. It's because I'm sure about it.
Oh, I could hide neath the wings of the bluebird as she sings. The 6 o'clock alarm would never ring, but it rings and I rise, wipe the sleep out of my eyes. My shaven razor's cold and it stings. Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? You once thought of me as a white knight on his skin. Now you know how happy I can be. Oh, and our good time starts and ends without dollar one to spend. But how much, baby, do we really need? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen?
just assault. Everything is my fault. I'll take all the blame. I proceed from shame. Sunburn, Fraser burn, choking on the ashes of a renegade. In the sun, I feel as one. In the sun, Mary, 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 yeah, 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 yeah.
Perfect timing. Please be seated. Now, I know it's warm in here. Please let us know if it gets too hot. We may have to turn on some air conditioning, otherwise we'll open all the windows and doors. It is too hot. So we'll leave it up to the funeral directors, please. We've got Bridget and Bevan today. Bevan's on the job right now. He's about to get us all a wee bit cooled down. While we're waiting for that to happen, there are just a couple of housekeeping things I'd like to address. The first one is please turn down your phone or turn it off altogether. We don't want to have you embarrassed as it rings during a service. I'll move mine out of the way as well. There are toilets just down through the lounge as well, and there's also a wee room down there for any younger people who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed with the service today. Sometimes they can go on a wee bit long for the younger members, and they're more than welcome to walk around and just take a wee break, perhaps get a drink or something like that. Now, you can obviously tell that masks are not mandatory in here today, but when you're outside and you're mulling around with people that you're not very familiar with, maybe it's a good idea to pop them back on. Now, we do have some beautiful flowers here. The wreath that's on the stand, that comes from Graham, who's watching the service on the table, believe it or not. Amazing what modern technology does. So they're amazing. And it means that Graham and his family are now part of this service. Also, some of the flowers out of Sandra's casket spray, they're actually out of her own garden. So pretty special indeed to be able to start today by letting everybody know what's what and what's been going on. As we look back over time, we find ourselves wondering, did we remember to thank you enough for all you have done for us? For all the times you were by our sides to help and support us, to celebrate our successes, to understand our problems and to accept our defeats. Or for teaching us by your example the value of hard work, good judgment, courage and integrity. We wonder if we ever thanked you for the sacrifices that you made to let us have the very best and for the simple things, like laughter, smiles, and the times we shared. If we have forgotten to show our gratitude enough for all the things that you did, we're thanking you now, and we are hoping you knew all along how much you meant to us. Sandra gave her children during their childhood and beyond the very best that she could. Now, she raised her 5 boys virtually on her own, and she became the glue that was to hold this family together. Not an easy thing, 5 boys. 3 would be pretty hard going, but 5. Some would say that Sandra was the matriarch who kept calm and was the one person that family and friends could go to. She settled inhibitions, eased tensions, and was the rock within the ocean that may have had many a storm waves wash over her, but was sound. The reading that I've just said is a reading for those of you here to ponder upon, and I'm sure from time to time many of us think, when someone has passed, well, did we thank them often enough? Did we ever thank them at all? And did we ever tell them how much we cared about them and loved them? This is clear today, though, how this family felt about this lovely lady. As with Sandra's passing on Tuesday, well, family are here, but you're all here now to honour her memory, share her life, and to find closure by acknowledging Sandra's loss. Sandra wasn't only loved by her family, she was loved and thought of by her many, many friends. Friends who were at one time her carers, and with their regular visits, especially from Dalwyn Weekly and Penny, who had kept in touch. But it was Dalwyn who alluded family to Sandra not responding to her visits or calls. It was them with a sincere help from Constable Kevin Robertson, who was there to support the family that terrible day. And he was there and he guided them through, and he did try and make things a little easier, which I believe he did. And that's why there's this huge thanks to him today. Now, typically I would end a service with thoughts shared of how family felt about their loved one, and that would have been at the end, but today I'm starting to say those thoughts today at the beginning. Sandra touched the lives of many, and not only within a physical sense, but she was also able to form friendships of virtual friends. With her love of games on the computer, such as Bingo Blitz, Sandra was able to connect with many people, and she would begin talking to them and forming these friendships. With her mischievous and bubbly personality, it was easy for Sandra to be loved. And with the grandies, well, they all agreed that Nana, who was naturally able to fool around and act the goat, Nana was 69 going on 15. Yes. Nana was young at heart, enjoyed the piss take, and was simply awesome. So today is about sharing memories of a lady who has touched many lives during her 69 years. And I would like to welcome those of you who are watching from a distance. This service, we've got cameras in this room. You don't now have to behave yourselves because it's too late. They've been watching from a distance ever since you walked in the room. So we've got a camera there, hi guys, and out in the foyer, they're sort of dotted all over the place. Yes, the restrictions of COVID in many ways means family especially are unable to be here, and they include Graham and Sue, and Yvonne and Bruce, and other family. Sandra has left a legacy of memories within her family, and they in turn have given Sandra many memories to carry with her. Sandra's sons, Graham, Lee, Simon, Nick and Josh, wow, they evened up the ratio of boys to girls because they welcomed into the family young ladies who joined the family during the years, and they are Sue, Teresa, Sue, Kate and Christine. With grandchildren arriving, Nana loved them to bits, along with their partners, Cassandra, Quaylen, Alana and Jack, Cameron and Bree, Abby, Katie, Shanabeth, Joshua, Harrison, Sandar, Georgia, and who have we got? Danica. Sandra was then blessed with the arrival of great-grandies, and we've got Iden and Amaya. How amazing is that? What a legacy. Pretty proud, I'd say. Oh, and finally, not to be forgotten, who's at home in Dunedin? No, Ellen. And who's Ellen? Can you tell everyone who? The dog. Wow. Nana loved Ellen to bits as well. So, sadly, Ellen couldn't be here today. It's a bit warm for him to be in the car. And on behalf of the family, I would like to thank all of you for coming here today to support them. And no, it's really humbling to see so many faces, and it is nice that you're all able to mix and mingle, as we said when you entered, and I'm sure that there'll be a few more friendships formed over the next half an hour. But please make sure that you sign to register if you haven't already done so. They are for the family to take home after the service, and it will be a lovely reminder to them of who has joined today. There will be an opportunity for anyone who may wish to share in a short tribute during the service, and then you're welcome to stay for refreshments. And that will be a time when you can continue to share more memories of Sandra. Now, as this will be a full service here this afternoon, the words of committal will be said at the end, and then Sandra will be carried out to the hearse, where you will be offered a flower or just a sprig of, something from the garden, and that will be a nice tribute for you to place with Sandra as your own final gesture of farewell. And then Sandra will be respectfully driven to the crematorium for a private committal. Memories. Well, there's always lots of memories about people, especially when they pass, and it is hard to try and gather them again when someone like me happens to be sitting across the table or sitting on a chair, and can you remember what happened then, and this, that, and the next thing. So you did really well to share with me what you did, so thank you for that. But it was on a Tuesday, the 10th of June 1952, that Sandra Lois Cosgrove was born here in Invercargill at McDonald's. Sandra, she was the fifth child of 7, and her oldest siblings were Yvonne, Denise and Mary, who have both since passed, Jimmy, the late Paul, and Rick. Well, Rick reckons it took their parents a while to get it right. The family, it was to grow in number with brothers and sisters-in-law, Bruce, the late Peter, Robin, Marge and Heather. But seriously, there was quite a gap between the oldest and the youngest, with 13 years between them. So memories of Sandra's younger years were a little scarce. They were split up as youngsters, and Sandra was to go and live with the Broome family. I think that was in Gore, until she was old enough and of school age to return to the family home and to be with her father, Dennis, who sadly passed away at the age of 51. Sandra attended St Patrick's but didn't enjoy these school years, and please don't be offended when I say she didn't enjoy these school years, because she really didn't like the nuns. I don't know if they particularly got on very well, but anyway. But fun times were recalled, and it was with her sister Denise that Sandra would tell their father, right, we're going to just head off to the movies, Dad. And we're going to take Rick along with us, because he's the baby of the family and he really needs to see a Disney movie. So they'd get there to the movies, and it was always a Beatles movie. I think they went about 3 or 4 times, weeks in a row, much to Rick's absolute horror, because he was 6 at the time, and you can imagine all these screaming females when the Beatles movie was playing. So no, he didn't enjoy it at all. But it is funny how things in life change, as it wasn't too long ago, while watching a Beatles documentary, that Sandra mused that she didn't really like the Beatles anymore, after all that. And it would have been a natural thing for Sandra to become a mum in her younger years, because coming from a rather large family, she probably always had that nurturing streak in her. And she had met and married a young man by the name of Athol, and they were married at his parents' home on Bluff Road when Sandra was 16. 2 little boys were born, Graham and then Lee. But as time went by, Sandra and Athol, they went their separate ways, and for a while Sandra was on her own. Then it was on a particular day at the Pirates Rugby Club. Sandra was there Well, she was to have an encounter with a fella who was clearly smitten by her. So he conjured up a bit of a scam, and he decided that if all the guys that were there, the players and the supporters, the minute that Sandra nipped off to the loo, they had to nip out the door. So when she came back out of the toilets, here he was on his own. So it was just Sandra and Poro. Now this encounter led to the two of them having great times and 3 more sons for Sandra: Simon, Nick and Josh. Sandra worked hard during these years, and she worked at Decca. I'm sure a few of you out there will remember the Decca store. The Copper Kettle, where she made mean cheese rolls, and then the Newfield petrol station. This was a job that Sandra had for a long time, and she formed lifelong friends there. Len and Nancy Mackenzie owned the business, and their daughter, Lynn, she worked there along with another girl, Janine. And it was only on Monday that Lynn caught up with Sandra, such was their friendship, along with Janine, who also kept in constant touch. But this family business was sold in by coincidence. When it was up for sale again, the Mackenzie's son Dave bought it. And the business, well, it's remained within the family once again. Homes were lived in, and it was in Regent Street that the boys remember funny times. Mum loved her wine, and she started off with that good old classic Chateau Carbord. For those of you who don't know what that is, that flash wine. It's wine in a carton. Oh, gosh, we all remember the wine in the carton. Well, I do, cask wine. Once finished, and we all did this as well, we would get that empty bag out and we would drain it for the last drop of wine. Well, these were a great source of entertainment for the boys. Hello, they were young, and they would blow them up and they'd use them as footballs. Please do not try this at home, youngsters. With precision aim, they would kick the plastic ball around the lounge and they would have a great time, but there was one incident that they can recall quite clearly, and their aim wasn't quite up there, and it happened to go straight across the room, and it went into Mum's cherished ornaments, smashing a plate that had pink mushrooms on it, no less. It broke, and it was one that Denise had given Sandra. And by all accounts, though, the boys are fairly sure that it wasn't terribly missed. And it was Robin. Well, Robin who witnessed a bottle of wine being opened. It was a bubbly. We've moved on. It was a bubbly. And it just happened to be in a room that obviously had some sort of jib. And when the jib was joined, it had little dots to hold the jib together. Anyway, they open this bottle of wine, the cork goes flying in the air and it hits the jib. Oh, it made another wee hole, and goodness me, Robin exclaimed when she looked up and saw the wee holes, "Wow, you drink a lot of wine." Oh dear. Moving to Tweed Street and across the road from the garage was absolutely wonderful. Now, there were Jimmy's pies. There was always Jimmy's pies left over. I have got down here on the odd occasion, but I'm pretty sure it's just about every day. And I think there was one record of about 8 Jimmy's pies, much to your delight. Yes, Sandra, well, she was a lovely mum, and she couldn't see any reason why they couldn't have the spare Jimmy's pies. And she also couldn't see any reason not to get the boys the occasional box of beer. Now, I can't remember what you said about how you raised the money, that you gathered together. They knew that if they could get enough money together, they could give Mum the money, and Mum could go in and get a 24-pack, as long as she could buy herself a packet of Rothmans. Because that was the deal. I'll get the beer, but you get me the smokes. Good on them. And the boys, well, they formed a band, the Grogans, and they made their mum an honorary member. Mind you, they kind of had to, really, because Mum was their driver, and they chucked all their gear in the back of a station wagon. And it was also Mum who was there the night at West Plains Hall when it was raided. You can imagine it, the scramble. They had to chuck everything back into the back of the station wagon, and they took off, probably in a cloud of smoke. There were life changes again for Sandra, and after she and Poro went their separate ways, Sandra was to meet the manager from the local Clifton Club Inn, and his name was Bill. They were very happy, and so was the extended family, because they went from pies to hot dogs. I know, yummy. Sandra and Bill were married in 1987, but very sadly, Bill passed away in 1994. Now, you've heard enough from me. I'm going to sit down for a wee while, and I'm going to invite family, safety in numbers, in your own time. There's been a bit of a poke there. We know who's coming up first. Safety in numbers, yeah, in your own time. Please come up and, share with us some tributes.
Do I just start from here? Yeah. No, I'm joking. Hi everybody, how are we all today? I haven't actually prepared anything, but I did want to have a bit of an audience interaction thing. So what I want everybody to do is everybody to put their hand up like this. So I'm going to ask some questions, and if you don't. So the question might be, did you get dressed up today? Graham, hey Graham, put your hand up please. Thank you. So the question might be, did you dress up for Mum's funeral today? And if you did, you leave your hand up, and if you didn't, you put your hand down. Okay, so Graham, put your hand up. Thank you. Okay, so did you dress up for Mum's funeral today? Graham, put your hand down. That's fine. Okay, so... He's on mute, right? Yeah, he's on mute. Cool. So who knew my mum, or knew somebody who knew my mother? That's good. Well, Sally, it's only one asparagus roll for you. Sorry. Okay, so who worked or was friends with Sandra's kids? Or related to Sandra, sorry. Alright, a few gone down. Okay, so who's related to Sandra? So I want to see all the people related to Sandra. I don't actually know a lot of people here, which is really nice. Okay, so who's a direct descendant of Sandra? Okay, yeah. Whose name is Josh? Oh yeah, so everybody, what you see here is Sandra's favourite people. We always used to, we always had a lot of fun with Mum when she was around, and that was one of them. So one of the games we used to play was, who's your favourite? And so she was like, oh, nah, you're all my favourite. And like, nah, you can't do that. You got to, you had to, if we were all, in a car, in a boat crash or something, and you had to choose one son for the life raft, who would it be? And she's like, would I be in the life raft? And I went, yeah, two people in the life raft. Well, I'd choose you and Graham. And I'm like, okay, I'll just stay with you, Mum. So, no, but it's as we all know, Mum was a lovely lady. I remember one of the things that stuck with me, because I got to spend a bit of time with her recently. It was a story about, which was about when we were kids at Regent Street, and so it was a real community feel in Regent Street, because there was a lot of solo mothers and things like that who lived in the neighbourhood, and of course us boys, it's not like it's changed. Parenting's changed these days. So back in the old days, you'd just run out at 8 o'clock and you'd be, as long as you're home by 6 o'clock for dinner, no one really cared. So anyway, so what we used to do is we used to play games. And anyway, so one day we come back home, and apparently, I'm thinking it might be you, Nick. No, it was me actually. Me and about 5 of the neighbourhood kids were trying to find Mum, and she was in the bath, and we just ran into the bathroom, all 5 of us, and she's sitting there naked, and she's like, so Demi moored it pretty quickly. She's like, "Get out of here, you bloody kids!" So she thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. But we used to play tricks on each other as growing up, so we used to play the Mum Wants You game. So what you'd do is you'd be up in the bedrooms, and Mum would be getting changed for work or something, and you'd go down to the lounge, you go to the boys, "Hey, Simon, Mum wants you," and then Simon would go up there and he'd go, come back down and be like, "Bloody arsehole." It was good times. So we had a lot of good times with Mum, and the other things that I'll take with me. Yeah. But anyway, thank you anyway.
Well done, Josh. You have to pay Sandar that money, the laugh money. Yeah, I've prepared something for all of us to sort of talk about our mother, so it's pretty easy to read, I hope, so we'll give it a crack. I'm going to share with you some further insight about our mum that you may not have known about her. Since her passing 6 days ago, the good yarns we have had as a family and the influx of messages from friends who all experienced growing up in or around our crazy, busy household has been truly amazing. To be able to reminisce in such a difficult time for us has been something we as a family are really grateful for. We just want to acknowledge on behalf of the entire family and Mum how humbled, thankful we all are for the love and the support we've received from everybody, close, far, virtual. It has given us all the encouragement to keep stronger together and ensured we stay focused on preparing to send Mum off today. And Mum herself would be speechless reading those messages of support and love, especially from Tracy Elizabeth Trotter from Yorkshire, from Facebook Bingo Blitz. She didn't even know Mum personally, but she was still left grieving from the unexpected loss. So to those outside of the world of Bingo Blitz, who did have that opportunity to enjoy Mum in their lives, the grief we're all feeling is heavy. We also like to acknowledge all our family and friends that have made the effort and sacrifices to travel here today. Seeing you all here and sharing in this sad time with us really does help share the burden of the loss of the unexpected passing of Mum, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. To those watching online from around the world, our family, extended family and friends, including the good people of Bingo Blitz, in particular Tracy, we know you're with us. We're grateful and thank you for being here with us today. To our brother Graham and Sue, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, Yvonne and Bruce, along with their children or their nephews and nieces in Australia, we're really sorry that you can't be here today, and we're thankful for your support from afar. I caught up with a good friend on the weekend, Jenna, on Saturday, and we hung out with our families, and Jenna shared a time in her life when myself and Simon were making a noise in the shed playing some music back in Tweed Street, and Jenna and Mum were hanging out inside, and Jenna said to Mum, "You've raised some pretty good boys there, Sandra." And Mum replies, "Yes, I'm really, really proud of them." And she says, "I'm even prouder of the mum that they have helped me to become." And I only found that out on Saturday, so that was really nice. Another message, particular from a good old friend, Brodie, I haven't heard from in years, and he sent us a message of condolence which said, "Your mum was the best. She took me in so many times. She always looked after me. She always had an ear to listen to me. Even now, She always wished me well in my life events, including my recent engagement. And she was always the first to wish me happy birthday all these many years on. These are just a couple of examples of Mum's kind, caring, loving and understanding personality. Mum was quite musically talented. She had a voice of an angel. An angel was also extremely tone deaf and was usually singing into the bottle of a wine bottle at your local karaoke bar. That said, she was really proud as punch of our musical efforts when we had the band. She was always first to help us move our band gear to venues, defending us from random neighbours in the supermarkets that complained about the noise, even when our gigs did draw the attention of the police, riot police, dog squads. She was not fazed. Not once did we get told off. In fact, she kept all the clippings from the Southland Times and court pages and treasured them like war medals. Mum always had our backs. Our mum completed a Polytech course where she studied social welfare. She had a lot of experience. She was so proud of this. At the time, none of us didn't really think much of it. We didn't grasp the significance of what she had achieved. But Mum grew up in a time when female education wasn't a real high priority. She was married at 16. She started her family. Shortly after, went on to raise 5 boys before starting her working career. A career she loved so much, and she made many long life friends. Mum recently shared one of her lowest points of being a parent with Josh, because he's the favourite. Atta boy, Zanny. And it was when I was young and playing a golf tournament for the Southland Juniors. It was a trip that Mum had only been able to pay a portion of, and my golf coach at the time, Ian Hardy, chipped in to pay the rest. I was given like $20 for the weekend. I didn't have enough money, and the manager, Trevor Fern, recognised this, and he gave me another $50. It was just to get me through the weekend. And this was a familiar theme for all of us boys growing up, and it really did upset Mum. She worked incredibly hard to provide for us all, and times were tough. Throughout our upbringing, we're a family of hand-me-downs. Being a team of 5 boys, poor Josh, he really lucked out with the 4-time round Y-fronts. School shoes, were knock-off nomads. They're a 2-piece shoe with a seam running down the top of your foot. It's horrible. Takeaways on your birthday, that was it. When I say takeaways, it was just fish and chips back then. But what Mum didn't understand is that our childhood was just as good, if not better than anyone else's. Yes, we didn't have much, but we did have each other. And all of us kids were so lucky and grateful in life. And, we would not be who we are today without that strong, loving upbringing of our mum. And so we love you and we miss you and we'll never forget you, Mum. Thank you, guys. Sorry, Graham. Graham's card I was supposed to read out and he's going a bit spastic. Thank God he's on mute. And thank God we're not here, we'd all be covered in saliva. Thank God it's not your handwriting either. Loveliest Mum, Grandma and Great-Grandma. Absolutely devastated at losing you so soon. Already missing you very much. forever in our hearts. Lots of love. Graham, Sue, Cassandra, Alana, Aiden and Amaya. Very nice, Graham. It's good. Oh, they're behind. Sorry, mate. He's always been behind.
Oh, isn't it good that Graham's got such a great personality? He is sitting at the table, by the way. He is here. Right, as I said, I've got one here to read. Hi, I'm Cassandra, Sandra's eldest grandchild. I'd hoped to have been there with you today, but due to COVID, I'm trapped in Australia. Anyway, Nana was the most amazing Nana you could ever dream of. I think it's fair to say I'm still in shock. It currently hurts so much to think about all the memories I have with Nana, but I know the pain I feel will heal, as I will, and be replaced with deep love I feel for the times I got to share with her. Living in Australia meant we didn't see each other often, but when we did, it was always filled with laughter and good times. These moments I will value and treasure forever. Nana's house was comforting and I'd always feel at home. The last time I came to New Zealand, it was last minute, with hardly any warning, but Nana welcomed me to stay with her and helped me any way she could. Nana was so selfless and was always there if I ever needed her. Whenever something happened near Melbourne, like the bushfires or COVID, Nana would always message, making sure the great-grandbabies and I were okay. Nana told me if Melbourne ever got too bad, I could stay with her. I told her not to worry and I'll be fine. Now I wish I had come, Nana, because I am not ready to lose you. Nana, you were with me on my first day in this world, and I know you'll be there with me until my last. I'm going to miss you so much. I love you, Nana. Regards, Joshko. It's got Joshko there.
Oh, so this is my email.
Jeepers! I wondered that. I'm thinking, right. We will move on from that, Mr. Nana. Crikey Dickinson. I think it'd be a jolly good time to have a slideshow. What do you think? Right. Please sit back. We're going to have a slideshow, please. And enjoy. And while that's happening, Bevan, can you please come and turn the heat pump on? Because it's really, really hot over here. We're about to gasp. Right. Okay. Right. Slideshow. Thank you. What was that? You want more water? Slideshow.
Oh, I could hide neath the wings of the bluebird as she sings. The 6 o'clock alarm would never ring, but it rings and I rise, wipe the sleep out of my eyes. My shaven razor's cold and it sings. Now you know how happy I can be. Oh, and our good time starts and ends without dollar one to spend. But how much, baby, do we really need? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a 17. Baby's going strong, play my favorite song. And I could tell it wouldn't be long that he was with me, yeah, me. And I could tell it wouldn't be long that he was with me, yeah, me. Singing, I love rock and roll. Spend enough time in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll. So come take your time and dance with me. He smiled so I got up and asked for his name. That don't matter, he said, 'cause it's all the same. I said, can I take you home where we can be alone? The next we were moving on, he was with me, yeah, me. Next we were moving on, he was with me, yeah, me. Singing, I love rock and roll. Spend enough time in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll. So come take your time and dance with me. Take you home where we can be alone. Next we were moving on, he was with me, yeah, me. And we'll be moving on and singing that same old song, yeah, with me. Singing, I love rock and roll. So put another time in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll. So come and take your time and dance with me. I love rock and roll. So put another time in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll. So come and take your time and dance with me. I love rock and roll. So put another time in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll. So come and take your time and dance with me. I love rock and roll.
Oh, wasn't she gorgeous? Eh? Really? Yeah. Make sure you take a family photo before you all disappear. You know, you're all together. Well, yeah, damn it, man. Get up there. It'll work. Well, the time that we've spent here has really just only scratched the surface of any stories or memories that, you know, you all have of Sandra. So please remember to speak her name, because that's what it's all about. If you don't say names openly and speak openly of people who are no longer with us, well, it's harder to remember their memories. Okay, guys? And as I said earlier, Sandra was a worker, and when she left the garage, Sandra went, as we've heard a wee bit of this now that I'm going to say, she went into a completely different direction with her life, and she did gain that diploma in social services and was incredibly probably proud of herself, probably proud of her boys for them being able to, you know, train her up into that role. But in a serious note, Sandra worked for Rape Crisis, and this is where she met another lifelong friend, Debbie. And PACT was to benefit from Sandra's bubbly personality and determination to help those with mental illness or intellectual disabilities. And this is a role that she worked at for a number of years, and then she carried on working but with reduced hours until her retirement at around 67. Travel, as we've seen, was on the cards for Sandra, and she visited Nick and his family in London and then in Nelson, Dunedin many times to see Josh and Christine and their family, and also Oz to visit Graham and Sue, and when Simon and Sue were there with their families. So she's really been everywhere to make sure she's connected with family. And distance didn't deter Sandra from seeing her grandchildren. Zoom has been a great tool for this family, and with the privilege of having grandchildren close by in town, well, that's been particularly special. Having daughters-in-law, well, really important. I mean, you girls haven't just been daughters-in-law, you've been her friends, so that's just been so special. And Sandra, well, she taught, I was going to say all of her sons to cook, but I'm not. I'm going to say Sandra taught most of her sons to cook. And when she worked at the garage doing afternoon shift, they would finish off what Sandra had prepared, and the tea would be waiting, usually at around about 7 p.m. During their younger lives, and with Sandra's guidance, she inadvertently gave them life skills to her sons for them to carry into their futures. One is now a pastry chef, another a baker. Graham, sadly, can't cook, as he left home in 88, so it's a jolly good thing that Sue can. And it didn't do the boys any harm, having the odd walloping with a wooden spoon. Well, it kind of did matter a wee bit later on. The wooden spoon was a lot better than the jug cord that Mum resorted to one day, because she went to reach for the wooden spoon out of the drawer, and hello, it wasn't there. It was taken, hidden by someone we won't look at, so the jug cord was required and it was used, and I can tell you what, by the sounds of things, that wooden spoon was quickly found and popped back in the drawer, because it didn't feel nearly as bad as that jug cord. It was in 2019 that Sandra was to break her leg. With it not setting correctly, she had to wait a year, and then with private surgery had it reset, and that was so it would mend yet again. This certainly had an effect on Sandra, not only physically but emotionally. It was a long, hard haul for her to get through this, basically 2 years of her life. Isolation was a barrier, but Sandra eventually returned to her old self. She wasn't quite as physically active, but she did go out and meet up with her old friends, and Sandra gained her independence again, much to the relief of her family. And it was reassuring to see her pull up the drive in her pink Holden Barina. And with her sheer determination, Sandra gave up those Rothmans. Yep, she went cold turkey during these adverse years. Now, anyone who knew Sandra would know that she was a people person. Having a yarn with her family meant that Sandra was able to relay any of those stories that were relevant, and even the ones that weren't very relevant at all. She was able to relay them to everybody else in the family just from one phone call. And she loved to keep everyone up to date. And it was with very, very extended family that Sandra was to keep up to date. She took an ancestry test and was to discover distant relations across the world. I've spoken for the first time to my 25th cousin in Bolivia, she announced. There you go. Maybe we all should get one. But it's been those basic common sense principles of nurturing that meant Sandra was able to bring up her 5 boys. As we've heard, and I think it was really nice the way that you said thank you to Mum, because what I'm saying is exactly what you said. That you've become the men that you are today, and you had no luxuries. There was no money, there was no flash holidays, maybe a trip to Christchurch if you were lucky. But you had everything you needed, and there was food on the table, a warm bed to sleep in, and the most important thing of all, there was a home filled with love. So you couldn't get any better than that. But just on a side note on the food, this is quite a tragic story. The children were raised on Sandar Lois soup. Yes, the meals would start with the sausages, and then they would have the Sandar Lois. And by the time the younger ones got to theirs, they had the lovely pink juice that was left at the bottom of the pot. Sandar Lois soup and bread. Didn't do you any harm, did it? No. But Rick, well, once again, Rick, he chipped in, and he reckons that before being vegan became trendy, he too was a vegan, because he was the youngest and he had to settle for leftovers. Sandra was described as a woman who would have her next worry be her first, which I thought was actually well said. Now, as I said at the very beginning of the service, the words of committal for Sandra will be said at the end, and we have come to the end of the service, so I would like you to please all stand. Remembrance is a golden chain death tries to break, but all in vain. To have to love and then to part is the greatest sorrow of one's heart. The years may wipe out many things, but some they wipe out never, like memories of those happy times when you were all together. Well, the time has come to say our farewell to Sandra and to leave her to be at peace. We have acknowledged our appreciation for the privilege of sharing a part of her life. And even though Sandra's death has meant a physical break in the links of the chains that bind you to each other, the influence and effect of Sandra's life is still evident now as we speak her name. Sandra Lois Cosgrove, you will be missed for your love of banter, a wine, and just being you. You have reached the end of your journey, and now the difficulties, the joys, the challenges, the work, the giving and the receiving have all run their course. You have left so many memories and legacies, and each of your family and friends will miss you dearly, and nothing more can be asked other than we let you go. So it is with deep, deep sadness that we commend your body to the elements to eventually be returned to the good earth that you loved so much. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. With admiration we acknowledge your laughter. With a smile we acknowledge your sense of humour. With gratitude we acknowledge your determined spirit and passion for living. And with love we thank you for sharing our lives. And for those of you who remain, you must be reminded that grief may never end, but it does change. It is a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is a mystery to be lived and not a problem to be solved. Sandra will be deeply missed, and as we leave here today, we seek to do so in quietness of spirit, conscious of the things that really matter in life, and we have the resolve to live that way toward each other. Go well and go safe. And as you saw those words on the screen, they were relayed to me by family, and they really are quite empowering. So I will finish with those words. Accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith of what will be. Go well and go safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mambo number 5. One, two, three, four, five. around the corner. The boys say they want some gin and juice, but I really don't wanna. Be a buzz like I had last week. I must stay deep, cause talk is cheap. I like Angela, Pamela, Sandra, and Rita. And as I continue, you know they're getting sweeter. So what can I do? I really bag you, my lord. To me, flirting is just like a sport. Anything fly, it's all good. Let me jump in, please sing the trumpet. A little bit of Monica in my life. A little bit of Erica by my side. A little bit of Rita's all I need. A little bit of Tina's what I see. A little bit of Sandra in the sun. A little bit of Mary all night long. A little bit of Jessica, here I am. A little bit of you makes me your man. Mambo number 5. Jump up and down and move it all around. Shake your hand to the sound, put your hands on the ground. Take one step left and one step right. One to the front and one to the side. Clap your hands once and clap your hands twice. And if it looks like this, then you're doing it. A little bit of Monica in my life. A little bit of Erica by my side. A little bit of Rita's all I need. A little bit of Tina's what I see. A little bit of Sandra in the sun. A little bit of Mary all night long. A little bit of Jessica, here I am. A little bit of you makes me your man. Trumpet. The trumpet. Mambo number 5. A little bit of Monica in my life. A little bit of Erica by my side. A little bit of Rita's all I need. A little bit of Tina's what I see. A little bit of Sandra in the sun. A little bit of Mary all night long. A little bit of Jessica, here I am. A little bit of you makes me your man. I do all to fall in love with a girl like you. 'Cause you can't run, you can't hide. You and me gonna touch the sky.